Everyone's talking about GameStop stock, Reddit, and short selling. And even old Joe's spokesperson, Raggedy Ann, was asked what the White House thinks about it.
Is the White House concerned about the stock market activity we're seeing around GameStop, and now with some other stocks as well, including the subsidiary or whatever, the company that was Blockbuster? And have there been any conversations with the SEC about how to proceed?
Well, I'm also happy to repeat that we have the first female Treasury Secretary and a team that's surrounding her, and often questions about market we'll send to them.
Don't worry about a thing, because a woman is in charge of the Treasury. Diversity to the rescue again. And this woman, Janet Yellen, just so happens to have been paid almost $1 million by the firm that bailed out the hedge fund that is directly in the center of this whole debacle. What's happening here is a group of amateur investors who hang out in a Reddit forum called Wall Street Bets discovered that a hedge fund had shorted the stock of GameStop, a video game company that owns stores in malls across the country. Shorting the stock meaning that they're betting on it going to go down, which means that they actually borrowed the shares from somebody and paid a small fee for that, sold the shares, and then are hoping and waiting for the shares to go down, to drop, really to bankrupt the company, and then they're going to buy the shares for a few pennies, return them to the person, the entity that they borrowed them from, and then make a ton of money, having only paid a small fee to borrow those shares. But the Wall Street fat cats never imagined that a group on an internet forum would beat them at their own game by purchasing tons of GameStop stock, driving the price through the roof, before the hedge fund was able to purchase the shares back and then return them to the lender, causing the hedge fund to have to pay a historically high price for the stock, making tons of the people in the Wall Street Bet Reddit forum a ton of money. A lot more amateur investors could have made a lot more money at the expense of the Wall Street fat cats. But most of the brokerage firms, particularly Robinhood, which is a very popular mobile app that the millennials use to buy and sell stocks, decided to stop people from being able to buy GameStop stock and a handful of others that were involved in this plan. By stopping what are called retail investors, just your average Joe, from buying the stock, it caused the price to dramatically drop. And many people believe that the brokerage firms did this so that the hedge fund could then buy those shares back up while they were lower instead of having them continue to go sky high, and then return them to the entity that they borrowed them from so they wouldn't continue to lose more money by having to buy those shares at a much higher price. And if that's not shady enough, Discord, a popular group chat app amongst the millennials and Generation Z, shut down the Wall Street Bets group, claiming that the users were engaged in hate speech. And then Facebook shut down a Robinhood stock trading group that had over 150,000 members for what they said was the same reason. Now, this kind of game is actually fairly common amongst Wall Street fat cats. There's a famous story of billionaire hedge fund manager Bill Ackman shorting Herbalife stock, borrowing shares, selling them, obligated to buy them back later, but he tried to drive the price down into the ground before he bought them back. But billionaire hedge fund manager Carl Icahn decided to buy a bunch of those shares, driving the price way up. And then when Bill Ackman was legally obligated to purchase those shares again and then return them, he had to pay a ton of money for them, costing him, I think, around $1 billion. And Carl Icahn didn't do this because he thought that Herbalife was a great company and tried to save it. He did this really not even to make $1 billion. He did it because he has a personal beef with Bill Ackman and wanted to screw him out of $1 billion. And that was great. That was two Wall Street titans battling it out head to head for $1 billion. But when a group of ordinary folks on Reddit decided to do exactly the same thing, now everybody says that they're using social media and online forums to manipulate the market.
First of all of this nonsense, all of this noise, all of this whining by Wall Street, it's making me sick. 140% of GameStop was short. I didn't hear one person on TV complaining about Wall Street trying to crush GameStop. 140% short. I told my subscribers, buy this stock, and they made a fortune. You can't allow Wall Street to short 75% of a stock, and nobody says anything. Crush these companies into the dirt, and then when the individual investor makes money, everyone's up in arms. Some people are going to lose and some are going to win, but if they want to change the rules of the game now because the general public is making money after decades of the shorts crushing thousands of stocks into the dirt. I have watched stocks being crushed completely to zero, and no one ever whispered anything because those stocks didn't have Wall Street sponsorship. They were small names. Maybe they went public through a reverse takeover. Whatever it was, the shorts have had their way with the market for decades. No one's ever complained about it. So I am thrilled. If you were going to try to destroy a company by shorting 140% of its stock, you have to accept the fact that individual investors are playing the same game that you're playing, and now you're losing.
A lot of people are understandably upset with Robinhood because they prevented people from purchasing more GameStop stock and others, trying to drive the price up so that they could then sell it to the hedge fund for a higher price and, screw them out of money, just like Carl Icahn did to Bill Ackman. So they went to the app stores and started leaving 1-star reviews and writing negative reviews for the app. But then Google decided to step in and deleted over 100,000 negative reviews, which had driven the average rating of the app to 1 star, thus bringing it back to normal. So it doesn't look like there was anything wrong with the app or the company at all. And Apple also looks like they prevented new reviews from actually showing up because so far the app over there in the Apple App Store still looks like it's just fantastic and it hasn't changed at all. There's going to probably be congressional hearings into this. That's how big of a deal this is because people want to find out whether or not Robinhood screwed over their ordinary customers in order to help the big hedge funds. And there's even talk of allegedly the hedge fund and Robinhood have a mutual financial interest in a third party. So this story is definitely not going away. It's so big, in fact, that Jon Stewart, the former host of The Daily Show on Comedy Central before he retired and was replaced by whatever his name is, that affirmative action hire, he just joined Twitter for the first time in order to weigh in on the situation. He misses those days of the housing collapse when he used to rail against the big Wall Street fat cats, but what he never told you was that at the time, his own brother was actually the head of the New York Stock Exchange. What else is not going to be funny is when these Robinhood traders who actually did make a bunch of money on the GameStop stock, who are mostly millennials, learn about what capital gains taxes are and what old Joe plans to do to them. And I guarantee you that before yesterday, Joe Biden thought that Kevin Costner was Robinhood and Reddit was something that he did to the New York Times every morning. A lot of people can't believe that he actually is the president. And so YouTube is trying to help by putting a little notice on the bottom of videos, you may have seen it, where it simply says, Joe Biden is the president. I'm not kidding. I'm sure you saw the ones about the election where they kept saying for months, Joe Biden won the election. Well, now it says Joe Biden is the president. Listen, he may be the president now, but we can't talk about how that actually happened here on YouTube because that violates the rules. And I don't care what the media says. This is still Trump's America. And as you know, I'm the king of transitioning into the merch plug. So, of course, I have a Trump's America shirt. It is available in a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and check it out.